Welcome to the December 18th meeting of the Tuxedo Union Free School District Board of Education. And we have our final trustee about to wander down and join the group. So why don't we rise for the pledge, and we'll let Ms. Kidda join us. Watch your heads.
Yeah, watch your head.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk take roll, please?
Daniel Castricone.
Here.
Gary Hebner.
Here.
Kimberly Breland.
Here.
William Clark. Here. Heather Kidda. Here. Chris Scanlon.
Here.
Bonnie Takeuchi. Here.
And let the record reflect that Acting Superintendent Teed is here, along with Principal Kumar, Principal Cagliano, Principal Park, and Business Administrator Mr. Weir. And we were joined this evening by the Tuxedo Police Chief, Rick Marsh, who's going to do a short presentation for us. So thank you, everyone. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 18th?
So moved.
Discussion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. At this point, we'd like to welcome the Tuxedo Police Chief, Mr. Marsh, to have a discussion with us about some use of force protocols and things that the Tuxedo Police are doing in and around our school, making us feel much more safe than we ever have.
Yes. Hi, thank you, School Board, for allowing me to come tonight and speak. As you know, I'm new to the position here in the town of Tuxedo, about a month and a half in. And part of my taking over, I'm looking at some of the things that have been done and are being done within the town and with our SRO program involving you guys. I spoke briefly with Ms. Teed about our SROs and they're not carrying the taser weapons with them in the school. It was a concern of mine of why. Maybe it was a school board decision or was it a prior administration decision. I found out it was a prior administration of the police department's decision, and I wanted to have an open discussion with you. I don't want to just say we're going to be carrying them. I'd like to have some input from the board and let you guys know our feelings on it and, you know, just have a little bit of discussion. It is a use of force that the town of Tuxedo uses and have been using for quite some time. It is used in the police world and has been used in the police world for quite some time. The Tuxedo Police Department, they go through extensive training in the use of tasers, and they do annual training as well. So the officers that are here in the school, they are, as I hope you would agree with, are very good officers. They're very well received by the administration and the students. And after tonight's discussion, I would like to implement the tasers back to those officers. For, again, what reason why they were not being offered to begin with is beyond me. I've been a taser instructor with the Village of Suffern Police Department. We're coming here for over 18 years. And it is a very valuable tool that we carry on this back belt that we have of supplies. I spoke with President Castricone a little bit beforehand, and I was asked kind of like what the use of force is and the continuum that you would use. Well, the old days when I started, and officers older than I, we had what was like a ladder use of force. So when we arrived on the scene, police presence is your first rung in a ladder. Verbal commands would be like your second rung. Hand, you know, is next, and you progress up this ladder until if you had to use deadly physical force. Over the years, that has changed, and it changed probably 10, maybe 15 years ago to we use a pinwheel model now. So we're allowed to use anything inside of that continuum. So we don't necessarily have to try to put our hands on you before we have to use a different kind of force because things change rapidly. You know, I may go try to put my hands on you and they may pull a weapon, an edged weapon or a gun or something, and for me to continue to try to put my hands on you doesn't make too much sense, right? So they allowed us, and it has changed over Department of Criminal Justice, has now moved into a pinwheel model. So we're able to use different kinds of force at different levels. So we can, not only can we escalate it, but we can also de-escalate it faster. So if I go and I try to use a baton on you, I then don't have to go and use hands on you to back myself out of that situation. I could then go right back to verbal if things start to go in the right direction. So the taser is in a very low level of use of force. You know, we would rather use a taser than pepper spray somebody, because pepper spraying somebody has a stent that lasts for 35 to 40 minutes, can interfere with their inhalations if they have asthma and stuff like that. It can actually become more deadly than a taser. So tasers are on a very low level of use of force. Do I see a problem with our officers having to tase a child? Absolutely not. That's not a concern of mine. A concern of mine would be more for an adult that may come to the school to cause a problem. That would be more of a situation for an officer to have to utilize a taser. I think we are very fortunate in this school district that the kids in the school are phenomenal. They, I don't know about internally, but I don't foresee a lot of trouble here in Tuxedo, nor have I heard of a lot of trouble in Tuxedo. Maybe not so much when I was growing up, but nowadays it seems like a very good school, very well ran, and the use of a taser being deployed on a child is almost not, I mean, I don't want to say it won't happen, but it probably will never happen. Again, it would be more something of a adult coming into the school causing some sort of a disturbance that needs to be addressed, and the use of a taser would be the, you know, least lethal form to be used. That being said, do you guys have questions for me in the use of them?
Are they carrying pepper spray also?
Yeah, yep. The only thing that was removed from their belt for some reason was a taser. And again, they're trained in it. We use it. I talked to the surrounding agencies. Ramapo, just before I walked in the door, Chief Hyman, they use them in their school districts. It's not like it's unheard of to use them. It's just, for some reason, they were not issued. Actually, they were taken off of their belt to come to the school. If they went back out on patrol, they would put them back on their belt to go on patrol. So to me, it doesn't really make sense for us to take a tool away from a police officer that can, you know, use a less lethal or less use of a force option than the pepper spray or to hit somebody with a baton. They're lasting injuries. I've been tasered 4 or 5 times. I used to teach the class, and I used to drive stun taser myself during the class as a demonstration. I'm not doing it tonight. I don't have it on me. But, you know, to show them that, yes, it hurts, but it's not anything that's going to stop, you know, your heart. Everybody thinks a taser is going to kill you, okay? To this date, I don't want to say to this date, when I stopped teaching tasers 5 years ago, there was never an associated death to tasers. Yes, there was deaths of people dying after being tasered. A lot of times that was stuff that they had on board already, such as drugs or other issues that caused the death, not the taser. The 50,000 volts that scares everybody, it's not the volts that hurt you, it's the amps or ohms that hurt you. And it's 0.001 amps or ohms, and it's a joule of energy when your defibrillators are a lot more than that. So the chances of death occurring after being used in a taser is almost unheard of.
Thank you.
So I know the scheduling doesn't work this way, but hypothetically, if there was a Tuxedo police officer patrolling the streets of Tuxedo,
Yep.
he would have a taser to keep himself and
Absolutely.
the citizens safe.
Yep.
And if he was called up and said, hey, we need you to cover a shift up at the high school, our current policy is that you have to take that tool off.
No, only the SROs that are coming to your school, for some reason, have taken them off of their belt.
Well, that's what I meant. I meant for scheduling
If a
purposes.
patrol officer were to come in, just to come in, and we come in often, right, just to walk around and say hello, and our officers do walk-arounds outside of the SRO program, they have their tasers on. They're
So
walking
our
around the school.
SROs have less
SROs
options and
have-
less tools than his co-officer that's
Correct.
down the street.
Correct. Officer could be out by the fire department, running radar, looking at traffic light or whatever. They come in here to do a walk around, or they come in here for a service call, they are carrying a taser.
Does anybody know how long that we've had that policy?
I don't know how long. Since I've been here, there was no taser on the SROs. So it would be my goal to get the tasers back on the SROs.
In other school districts, you said it's standard practice for them to
It is
to
standard
wear
practice,
a
yep.
taser. Okay.
Before I, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's another week and another school shooting. Is there anything that we should be doing to enhance our security at our school?
Actually, that's something I was just going to get into. I was privileged enough to attend last week's lockdown drill here. And as a person that's on the school safety board, and I have been for 10 plus years here, and now being the police chief, I had the opportunity to now walk through lockdown drill with the school. I tell you right now, this school is so professional, and what they did here is absolutely amazing. I walked around, they did the lockdown, it was only a drill, they announced it over at the system. We broke up into teams and we searched not only the high school, but the elementary school for possibilities of, people may not have followed the policy, people were horsing around in lockdown, they stayed in the bathrooms, they did things outside of what we expected. There was not one person in both buildings that were found outside of where they were supposed to be or what they were doing. We broke up, cleared all the rooms, then we went as a team and cleared each room and talked to each one of the rooms. Every one of the rooms were locked that were supposed to be locked. All the lights were off, all the people were where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to be doing, even so much so Ms. Castellano barricaded her door, knowing that it was a drill, but she knew enough that, hey, if it's a drill, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. There were students that were locked, beyond locked, that we almost didn't find because they were so locked. There was also a teacher that had a hammer that was ready to protect, her kids, which is phenomenal. You practice, you train the way if something were to happen. And again, the staff, I cannot commend you enough how everybody took a drill absolutely serious. There was no talking. There was nothing that we could find out of the ordinary. Everybody locked the doors they were supposed to do. Everybody followed the procedure to the T. You guys should be really proud. So
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. In the past, when I was here, the police were not part of our lockdown drills. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see the officers come in and do it with the administrators. It just made a world of difference, so thank you for that.
And that goes back to why I'm here today, is I want this kind of open communication between the board, the school, and our police department. We have it with Jared and the rest of the staff that I could call you guys anytime, we communicate. They ask me to come here, and I ask them to be part of ours. That's what we have to do. We're here to protect our kids. As we said before 100 times when we were pushing this forward on the school board, on the town board, is we want our kids and our schools protecting, our police officers and our schools protecting our kids. Because we are the people they see on a regular basis. Nothing against the sheriff's department. They provided a great program. But when there's somebody outside and they're walking around, there's a better chance that our SROs that are in the school know who that person is because they work here on a regular basis. They know that's only the guy walking his dog without his dog today. Or, that may be a problem person, I need to address that issue. So to have the Tuxedo Police Department in the school is phenomenal, and we enjoy being here.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Any recommendations from the lockdown? Anything you could see that we could improve? I know you said everything went outstanding, but is there any other?
The only recommendation I could have is that you possibly push your policies out to other schools. It's that much of a role model. I could not believe how perfect it went.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for the board or Mrs. Teed. Do we know what's happening with the entrances of getting,
The single point of entry?
or
Security
the security vestibules? Like, what's happening with that?
Yes, and I've talked to Mr. Weir about this, if you want to jump in on this, Brian. We just spoke to CS Arch the other day, Brian and I. Sure.
Thank you very much.
Before we switch gears here, I just want to thank you again, Chief Marsh, and we don't want to make any kind of policy decisions here that affect the way that you guys do your job. We're comfortable with whatever you recommend. If you think that having the officers have the taser gives them another tool that will keep them from one of our kids getting hurt, then that's what we want you to do.
Okay. I support that decision, and I would like to see it effective immediately, them come back to school with their tasers on. And again, anybody on the board, you know how to reach us. You know how to reach me. If you don't, I'll be more than happy to give you my personal number. And, we're here to support you guys, and we're here for the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. So while Mr. Weir's coming up, though, we just had a conversation this past week, actually, with CS Arch, and the plans are at the state level, and I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, yeah, so we spoke to the architect last week. All plans have been submitted to state ed. So at this point, we're just waiting on approval, which could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, really. Tom, our architect, anticipates breaking ground early summer.
To get them done, both of them.
And then I read in, we get those emails with all the articles in it, and some of the schools are having passes with bobs on it for the kids, like that we would have a system that they just tap their bob, and then immediately when they're in the school, when they're out of the school, and things like that, and they wear it around their neck.
We haven't really had discussions in terms of that. We're still working on the point of single entry, which is, I thought it would be much easier to accomplish than it actually is, because we have people parking in the lower lot by the multipurpose room.
Right.
We have maintenance over here who enter through the maintenance shop. So in my mind, a single point of entry is for everyone. I know parking on the side now, walking around to come in the front for myself, and I would expect everybody else to do single point. What's hard is the people that work here have such nice manners, they want to hold the door open for others coming behind them. And as much as I tell them it's great to be polite, we want people to badge in, so we know. We think that's important. In case there was an emergency, we could pull a list of who had badged in. Unfortunately, we don't have them swipe when they badge out. I don't think we need to go to that extent at this point, but we're still working on a single point and getting everybody to do it through this front door. It's not perfect by any means right now. Most people are entering. Yep.
Yeah.
One thing with the fobs, town board, if you don't talk into these things, you can't hear. The one thing with the fobs is they're very easily duplicated. So
okay.
I would hesitate from doing that. Technology today, there's little machines that you could do it in seconds, and not saying to kids, but who may get that if it's lost, or it's very
Right.
easily duplicated, and then you really have a hard time controlling who might be coming into your schools.
Thank you.
I know when students are traveling from, for example, George F. Baker over to the nurse or to the gym, the high school secretary will call the SRO to let them know someone is crossing, someone is aside, so they're looking and they see that. I think it's as tight as, there's always room for improvement, don't get me wrong, but I think we try to be as tight as we can in communicating when kids are outside or people coming in. Even if someone is using the handicap down below, that call box now goes to our security person up front, so they can communicate with them, and an SRO police officer will go down and accompany them in to come up and with their ID. So, thanks, Brian. Did I cut you off? I'm sorry. Yeah, breaking ground by summer would be great if they can, with the state ed approval of the plans for those.
Do we need a resolution for the change in policy?
I don't believe it's
I don't believe it's
not
our
a
policy.
I think it was really the
It's the police
police
policy.
department had.
Really no policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, for some reason, the past administration of the police department chose not
Okay.
to do it. Our policy is here.
Okay.
So for them to take it off,
Chief Marsh, I really want to thank you again for coming. As I look around the room at this crowd, I believe that we can handle our own security. If you feel like you've had enough and you want to go.
Thanks.
Thank you. We are at the point of the meeting for public comment. I don't see a lot of public. Unless one of the administrators has something to say, we'll move right on past that to the superintendent's report.
Okay, first of all, I'm pleased to announce that I will be making recommendations to the board a little later on in the meeting for approval for a school psychologist as well as an English teacher for the George F. Baker High School. And I thank the administrators for being on top of, we had a tight timeline to interview the first round, do demo lessons, and do a final round of interviews, so I thank them for that. The George Grant Mason and George F. Baker concerts went very well. Attendance was outstanding. I think everybody had a good time. The audience as well as those involved on stage with the alumni. I'm pleased also to announce George F. Baker will hold a family STEM night in late January, with more details to come when we get back from the break. So we'll push out the exact date, time, and location for that. We've had multiple trips up to the promenade. I'm very happy to say I had the opportunity to go on one of them. It was just, what a happy occasion, seeing the residents up there with the staff. I went with the 4th and 5th grade, who had a blast. Mr. Riley also takes students consistently up there to do different activities with the residents, and they're very appreciative of that. Mr. Chan is planning on taking the students to play the instruments for them in the near future as well. Just wanted to know, winter recess is from December 23rd to January 1st. And I would like to, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to go down to the podium. I have one slide. I just wanted to go over some ELA assessment scores, if I may. So I made copies for the board, just so you don't have to move and look up there. You can just pass these. And then Heather. And for you. Thank you. You. I'll pass them over to them.
Those are no, please don't. Please keep them over there. Thank you. That's right. Bonnie?
Being a gentleman, huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Are you?
Dante, could you just show 2017? So towards the bottom of this first page, I just wanted to highlight the proficiency level of George Grant Mason, and then George F. Baker grades 6 to 8 versus New York State proficiency level on the English language arts test. So if you look over to the right, I put the average number of points that our district outscored higher than the New York State average. And what I wanted to highlight on the ELA test from 2017 to 2019, those tests were based on what's called Common Core standards. And if you look above in 2022 and 2023, those tests are based on what's called the Next Generation standards, and those are more rigorous standards. So I just wanted to kind of frame it that with COVID hit in 2020, the kids were out of school. We know they missed a lot of instruction. Excuse me? They missed a lot of instruction, and these are more rigorous standards. But with that being said, they still outscored the New York State average. You see on 2022, the average was 16 points higher than the New York State average. In 2023, it was 3 points. And other things that are important to consider on these state tests, I know a lot of people put a lot of weight on these state tests, but parents have a choice to opt their children out of these tests, which could impact and sway your numbers tremendously. It could happen. If you look at the column to the right where it says the gap, you'll see the percentage of kids that were opted out in those 2 years. So where you might have 50%, like grade 8 in 2023, 50% of your students opted out. It could significantly change your scores one way or the other. Tests, more importantly, when we look at the tests, we look at them as indicators for where we can help students, provide additional supports. What we did in the past was send letters out to parents to inform them of how we look at these test results. And we use those to assess whether or not their child or children need additional help. That helps us give that to them and put them in the appropriate remedial areas. On the second page, Dante, if you could just scroll. It's a little hard to read up here on the screen, but I copied and pasted some things off the State Ed website where they put this right with the test scores. So for example, in 2018, back under the Common Core design test, you'll see that the New York State is indicating, you cannot compare these tests with 2017 because they're a new 2-session test. So these tests are changing often. And again, a lot of people don't understand that they're changing, and it's not comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges year to year. And then underneath it, I just highlighted, with COVID, how that significantly, the pandemic, approximately 4 out of 10 enrolled students participated in state assessments during that 2020-21 school year. So what the state is suggesting to people that are really diving deep into these test scores, they may not be a true representation of your school based on the other factors. I think if we look at them as a tool to help us find out where we can improve with our students, why are they missing certain questions, or is it critical thinking skills or analyzing data in a question, we can focus on certain areas to help them improve. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a brief overview of these tests and how they're different from the past years up until now. And computer-based testing is also something the kids are getting used to, and that could impact them. So again, it's a tool, and with that, just wanted to provide this for you to look at. I'd like to bring up Mr. Kamar, if I could. He's going to discuss briefly the math program, okay, that we have.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Teed. Just a few remarks here this evening specific to our math program, which is Reveal Math, and just a brief history of how we landed on Reveal Math. You might recall last year, Mary Stephanie Corzones from BOCES, one of our staff developers, led an extensive effort at GM to land on a change in our curriculum, and that began in 2023. And what they had done is built a committee at GGM, looking at all of our math data, evaluating the current curriculum, and they narrowed down the scope of programs that they were looking at to 2. And that was Eureka 2 and Reveal Math from McGraw-Hill. And they spent the remainder of the spring in 2023 as a school evaluating both of those programs. And at the conclusion of the year, the intent was then to roll out at the beginning of last year in 24, landing on a new curriculum. And there was a bit of a split between the primary and the intermediate grades. So what they decided to do, they built their committee over the summer. They evaluated the new next-gen standards that Ms. T just showed for ELA and math were rolled out, developed a scope and sequence for their curriculum for the year, all aligned to the state standards. And then they spent a couple of months rolling out the Eureka program, followed by a couple of months piloting the Reveal Math program. And then as a building, they, at a faculty meeting, made the decision, it was unanimous, that they landed on last winter that Reveal Math would be the program heading into this school year. So that was adopted, presented to the board in February of last year, and adopted as our new curriculum. So as we began this school year, obviously that's fully employed throughout the district, grades K-6. In addition to that, I want to speak briefly to Renaissance Math, Renaissance, which is a diagnostic tool, and that's for both ELA and math. And last winter, staff received training on that, and that program was implemented as well. And how that works is triennial evaluations of student performance and levels. So 3 times a year, every fall, every winter, and every spring, we benchmark the students based on their grade level standards, and then you apply that to your curriculum. So that's been happening throughout this year. We implemented that exam in the fall. We have comparable data to the spring because we had a May benchmark as well using Renaissance. And all of those students, we use that as a primary tool then to identify our students that might receive AIS services, academic intervention services. And all of the students in our Tier 1 program are receiving the content they need through Reveal Math, and then any student identified that's needing intervention work is currently taking place. Just to explain that briefly through AIS and how that works, there's typically 3 tiers of instruction on the general education side of things. And Tier 1 instruction is what you receive in every classroom. Once a student is identified with any kind of gap in their learning, and that could be skill or content-based or performance, you can then up them to tiers 2 or 3. And the difference is really in supports. It could be a push-in model where a support teacher is pushing into that classroom, or they could pull the students out. And the difference in tiers really breaks down to duration, frequency, and group size. So I might receive one-to-one instruction 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for a high tier 3, where an entry-level tier 2, you might push into my classroom and meet with me in a small group instruction, twice a week. So we're using Renaissance as our diagnostic, we're using Reveal as our math program. 4 months into the school, our first main leg of the year is over as we head into the holiday break. Next steps with the program, our administrative team has already been in discussion about meeting with instructional staff in January to receive feedback on what that first 4 months of the full implementation has looked like. We've been in touch with our BOCES, Orange Ulster BOCES, about targeted professional learning based on the feedback we receive. And then, of course, as we round the end of January, beginning of February, the mid-year diagnostic would happen. So we would have comparable data from the fall, the winter, really showing us what our program has done so far. And then that information, student data, teacher feedback would help us develop professional learning for the remainder of the year. So that's our update as far as where we are currently with Reveal Math.
Thank you so much. Has the first assessment happened already this year with Renaissance?
Yeah, the first assessment took place, and then all of the students in both GGM and GFB Middle that are receiving AIS services, that's our diagnostic tool to help identify what skill deficiencies they might have and then how often we might meet with them.
Okay, great. Have there been any pain points from the teachers or students with this new curriculum as we continue to roll it out?
You know, I think anytime you roll out a new curriculum, there's going to be pain points with it, and I think January is going to be our heavy lift in meeting with staff to really identify, where are you, how are things going, what are we seeing, what supports do you need instructionally, what are we seeing from the students. I think probably a typical rollout of a program takes a solid 2 years for staff to really get used to, kids to adjust to it, us to learn the tweaks in the program of, you want to implement it fully with fidelity, so that there's not skill gaps. If I'm removing something on my own and then you receive my kids next year, that may be an instructional gap for you that you're not aware of because you're expecting that I've delivered that, right? Yet you also have pacing and need to get through the program by the end of June. So there is that nuance that we probably anticipate getting some feedback on.
Great. I have one more question. And given, I think we've had enhanced AIS support this year, are we able to also accommodate kids who might be above and beyond where the curriculum has them right now, so is it gifted and talented, pulling them out for extra work as well?
Yeah, so we currently don't have a G&T program in place. However, the expectation would be in all of our classrooms, K-12, to differentiate that instruction based on your classroom model.
Great.
Yeah, but certainly something we can explore.
Thank you.
Sure.
Enrichment.
Enrichment, yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
So just in closing, on behalf of the students and the staff and the administration, we just wanted to wish everyone watching a very happy holiday. To the board, happy holiday. Please enjoy, be safe, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, when I look at this data, I mean, there's, it all needs to be taken with a grain of salt, right? Because not everyone takes the exams. But I see that pre-pandemic, we were double-digit outscoring the New York State average in these categories, 16 points, 23 points, 17 points. And then during the pandemic, the tremendous advantage that I think our students get is the small classroom, the very low student-to-teacher ratio. And I think that you see the fruits of that in, 17, 18, and 19. Then as the pandemic comes in, and our students are now being instructed via Zoom on computers, not in the classroom, I think we kind of lose that tremendous advantage that I think we have, and you see the test scores come more in line with the state averages. So I'm very hopeful that as we implement these curriculums and we get more use out of our advantage, the advantage that we have as we get to put that on, that it'll show up in the test scores going forward. That's just what I take from this data. I know that the state average is not a standard I aspire to, but it's nice to see how much we outperform it even when we're not taking advantage of our advantages, right? Of our low class sizes. When we're teaching over Zoom, we're still exceeding the state averages. Does anybody else have any comments or takeaways from the data?
Well, participation is a big thing. So we need, it was said last year, I think Jared got up and said it, where we have participation, we have, even with the small class sizes, we have at least, an idea of where the deficiencies may be. But if kids are not participating, then, the information's gonna be all over the place. And, the only thing you can really measure is the kids that took the test. It's not a true representation of where the entire grade is. So I would hopefully, as we move forward into testing season come April, hopefully we can get more participation. So we can get some eyeballs on this and maybe get some things corrected.
Yeah, I'd be interested to also see the same numbers for math and then how we do after we've had a full implementation of this new curriculum. Hopefully it'll bring us up to the standards and beyond, and also like to see our district, because of the advantages of having small class sizes, really be head and shoulders above the state averages, which include schools in very low income areas with large class sizes and don't have the same advantages that we have here. So I'd love to see that.
I
And then,
agree. I think
yeah.
the math data would be really helpful. We'll get the scores from the spring, usually late summer, early fall, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Mike? Jared, that's when they usually come in. So we can do an analysis prior to those scores and then see where we come in after.
One other thing too is that, we've put into place the math curriculum, and we have obviously Renaissance, hitting some of these points and figuring stuff out. We don't necessarily have an ELA reading programs, as you would say, Mike, scientifically based. So. Okay.
Scholastic, yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely something that will take a few years, obviously, to implement and to see the fruits of it, but, if we sow the seeds now, the whole idea is that,
I think the process you follow for math is a correct process. Teachers need to be part of this process. You need intelligent programs, you need to look at them carefully and then make a decision that's the best fit for the district based on the research of our.
okay, very good. Thank you. Should we continue?
Okay.
The way this is presented flies a bit in the face of some of the information on the local marketplace of ideas, very locally. Is this going to be posted someplace so it can be available?
We will have it posted with the board docs for the meeting, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second page too? Okay, perfect.
Next up is 5.1, approval of a contract extension for Mr. Cogliano, Dr. Cogliano. I know that Dr. Cogliano was originally scheduled to leave at the end of the year, but we have later on in the agenda, we have a psychologist that we are going to put on the floor to approve or not. And that person can only start at a particular date, and we need a CSE, CPSE chairperson to bring us to that point. And Dr. Cogliano has agreed to hang on just a little bit longer, and I certainly appreciate that. And I know that in making the changes that last month I went over some of the finance changes where we had saved about $328,000 with certain personnel moves that we had made, and the new moves with the principal, the psychologist, the new math, the new English teacher that we're going to bring on and approve. Even with extending Dr. Cogliano, it still puts us $40,000 or $50,000 to the good for next year's budget. I know that we got a notice from the controller's office that we are in a position where they might be putting us under a fiscal stress list, and that's based on the budget from last year that we're operating under now. But we have managed to trim close to $400,000 out of that budget so far this year without affecting any program, without affecting the kids. So I'm hopeful that as we wind up this year and get next year's budget together, that won't be an issue. So 5.1, can I have a motion to approve the contract extension for Dr. Cogliano?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Cogliano for continuing to help out our district.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. 5.2 is DASA and Title IX. We need to approve people to be the DASA investigator and the Title IX coordinator. Is there a reason, Ms. Teed, why these are outside folks and not people inside the building?
Yeah, so just going back to your reorganization meeting in July, I noticed some titles were pulled off, some people, it was recommended, and at that time, they were tabled. So there were some titles that were not assigned to employees of the district. But to have, Ms. Park is actually undergoing some DASA training in January, but to have an outside person would allow us the ability to have an investigation completed, and not having an administrator who may or may not have to impose discipline on an employee or a student involved in that investigation, so it would avoid the conflict there, which is important to bring somebody in.
Right now, who do we have in DASA?
That was our school psychologist who resigned.
Okay. And so when the new person begins, we might consider
We
appointing
might
them.
consider appointing that person,
Okay.
and again, Ms. Park is going to undergo training.
And then for Title IX, was that also?
That was also pulled,
Okay.
yes.
Can I have a
But
motion?
maybe Mrs. Teed is right thinking to have an outsider do it and not somebody who's within the district doing it.
I mean, it
Especially
was-
for all
yeah.
those
To have a,
issues that she just
Yeah.
pointed out.
you never know when it comes up and you need an outside source to complete that investigation. Inside, it would be appropriate to have, let's just say Ms. Park was trained, to handle some DASA investigations, but it's like a nice, clean differentiation.
Can I have a motion to move 5.2? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 5.3, approval of a winter sports stipend. This is for the modified girls' basketball team. Can I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yes. Was this just recently added on
Yes,
as a sport for,
it was just added.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And there's enough participation in in basketball?
I believe there is. I don't know the exact numbers to tell
Okay.
you, but
Great.
I believe there are.
Okay. Well, it's nice to have another sport available. Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 5.4, approval of the tenure track resolution for a school psychologist. I know we've all had the resume for about a week or so. Can you, Ms. Teed, can you tell us the process that you used to find this person?
Sure, we did advertise on OLAS Jobs. We received 4 applicants for this. We did hold interviews. We set up for all 4. We had 3 people. This candidate, Mrs. Nakengast, is currently working in the Teaneck Public Schools. She has for 11 years, but prior to that, she did work in New York as well, Prime Time for Kids and AHRC. She is accustomed to running Committee on Special Education meetings, preschool meetings, so that will be a huge help having a new person step into the position who's accustomed to do that. Of course, there's going to be a learning curve. It's a new district. It's smaller. She is very excited. Can't wait to start, come back to New York and work with us.
Who was on the interview committee?
Dr. Cogliano was on it, Mr. Kamar was on it, Ms. Park was on it, we had Mr. Riley on it, Ms. Dyba was on it, Mrs. Oliva was on it, and Mrs. Bassard. Am I forgetting anybody on that committee? I'm thinking of everybody sitting in the library. Okay.
Did I ask for a motion for this yet? If not, let's do it again.
Not also, so moved.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Terrific. Congratulations to her.
5-5, did yours get moved? Yeah, okay. Yours is up top. Yep. It's just numbered 5-5 on the bottom.
Approval of CSCCPSC chairperson and 504 coordinator stipend. So
This typically goes with the school psychologist. Doesn't have to be the school psychologist, but typically that's how it has been done in the past. I know I did it as a speech pathologist prior to administration.
okay. Can I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 5.6, approval of an FMLA leave for a particular employee.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion without disclosing the name of the employee? Terrific. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Approval of 5.7, substitute custodial workers for the 24-25 school year. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 5.8, approval of stipend for extra duties. This is for the George Grant Mason Student Council. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
May I just jump in? This is
Sure.
to take over for Ms. Park was holding that position with Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Isn't that the junior high?
This is the middle school?
Middle school.
Right.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, if it's
Yeah.
the middle school, should it say GGM?
Oh, you're right, Bonnie. I'm sorry, I didn't notice that. I apologize.
The next page.
I didn't notice that. Yeah. So it should say middle. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right there. We'll cross off GJM and put middle.
All right, we don't think we need a motion to change the resolution, okay? Motion to approve the middle school student council stipend.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, 5.9 is the approval of a tenure track resolution for a secondary English teacher. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bonnie. Ms. Teed, why don't you tell us about this person? And we got I think everyone has a copy of the resume
Yes,
already.
so Mr. Ulaj comes to us, he's currently working at Bronxwood Preparatory Academy, and he comes with a lot of experience there in teaching and creating a line of AP courses. So he will easily slide into that. Very hard to fill your shoes, but he will be able to teach the AP courses. He's very excited about joining the Tuxedo family. He came in and he completed a demo lesson with the students Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock, right after the kids are half asleep when they come in. And he did well with them. He went through multiple interviews, just very well versed, very well spoken. The kids really related to him.
Who's on the interview committee?
Would you like to share the first round?
Sure, the first round was our ELA Parks and Times, myself. We saw 3 candidates from the pool after a full review, and we actually brought back the saw 4 candidates.
12 applied.
Yeah,
Right.
12 applied, we saw 4, we brought 3 in for demos. Conducted a back-to-back session of demo rounds in the 9th
Thank you.
Any other questions or comment? At this point, then I'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Congratulations to her, or him. Business office reports. Does anyone want to pull anything out or talk about anything in the business office reports?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Then I'll take a motion to approve 6.1.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 6.2, approval of combining teams for the 24-25 school year. A motion to approve combining the boys modified basketball team with the Suffern Central School District. Tuxedo is looking to combine sports with Suffern to give the Suffern players the opportunity to play at Tuxedo Union-Free School District. Is there,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
To be clear, this is mutually beneficial because we're short players.
Yes, and I just changed the wording around a little bit. It's my understanding that some of the players may not make the team at Suffern, and they can come and they can play here. Those that don't.
Without suffering, would we be able to have a modified team?
I have
Would
to
there
talk
be
to
enough-
Mr. Margada. I know he's done this in the past with them, and it's worked out well, so I don't know about our numbers exactly
Okay.
on it. I can get those, though.
It's mutually beneficial. so-
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great thing for our
Absolutely.
kids.
Yeah.
It gives them more extracurriculars.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number in here somewhere.
Okay. I'll call the question then.
Interaction with the school district on the street.
Yeah, it's great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. 6.3, approval of the CSE, CPSE recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained.
Okay. Approval of the budget development calendar for the 24-25 school year. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As we move to 7.1 and approve the donation of Harry Potter Lego sets for GGM students, I just want to send a shout out to the Vishnaya family,
Yes, I didn't get there. I was going to
Right.
get there before the close.
because they donated the curtains. Mrs. Vishneskaya made the curtains for the doors. We accepted
Right.
them a couple of meetings ago, and it certainly made a difference last night. It was
Sure.
it was nice. It was
Very nice.
helped us to black out the room. So thank you to the Vishneskayas. Motion for 7.1.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
To Audrey Adler. And all in favor?
No,
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, 8.1, enter into executive session. Move into executive session, discuss employment of a particular person, potential litigation, and we may take action when we return.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mike and Jared, or do you want me to just come in briefly in the beginning to talk about?
Can I have a motion to return from executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we jump into it, there was one other thing that I wanted to announce that I had forgotten earlier during the superintendent's report and when I spoke a few words. We have a student who applied to West Point. And, you know, a former board member here and graduate and longtime town resident, Ray Barone, was a boxing coach for many years at West Point, and helped that application, helped the student with the application. And it's not official that they were admitted, but Casey Wansey got a letter of recommendation this week from Congressman Ryan.
Oh, that's
And
great.
that's a huge step in, you know, in getting admitted to one of the service academies. So I just wanted to, you know, I mean, a couple of years ago, we had you know, our valedictorian went to Princeton. This year, it looks like we're going to have a student who goes to, you know, probably the finest college in the world, West Point. So we'll cross our fingers for that, and I just think it's wonderful. Dr. Barone, thank you, and
Well done, Casey.
well done, Casey, and what a wonderful family the Wanseys are. You know, all of their kids have gone through the school, and every one of them has been a real asset here. Can I have a motion to add 9.1A to the agenda? And it's the resolution that I read to everyone inside, and once we add it, I'll read it again for the public.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
No.
opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you. Okay. Be it resolved, the board hereby engages the law firm of Bond, I'm going to say Schneck, Schoeneck, and King, to serve as special counsel pursuant to the terms of a request for proposals issued by the district on December 10, 2024, and be it further resolved that said law firm is hereby authorized to perform services for up to 28 hours pursuant to said law firm's response dated December the 17th, 2024, subject to modification pursuant to further action by the Board of Education. Can I have a motion to move that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
I ask for discussion, and that if anyone has any discussion, that they keep in mind privacy issues.
Yeah, how many proposals did we get?
We sent an RFP out to 5 different law firms, and we got 1 response.
Okay.
I spoke with David, who tells us that this law firm is well-known and well-qualified to complete the task.
And he recommends that we go forward.
Yes, with an independent law firm. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes 5-2. We have our enrollment reports at 10.1. And at this point, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion?
Can I
Second.
just say one thing?
Yes, Bob.
I just want to take note of the wonderful Spirit Week decorations and activities. The student body has really, the participation rates I hear are very high for the theme days. And if you stroll the back hallway, especially the seniors, led by Casey Wansey, I think her name has come up, have done an outstanding job with their hallway to decorate, as have many of the other classes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Doesn't wait for me.
Happy holidays. You too.
And for the record, under 2 hours.
Look at that.